Harry's Wife, part 93.27, My Pet. Hello, I'm HG Tudor, providing you with unrivaled insight into the behaviours of narcissists, explaining narcissism for you, and of course dissecting the behaviours of Harry's wife so that you can continue to understand what is going on. Things are a little quiet with regard to Harry's wife at the moment, and there is of course speculation as to why that might be. Ordinarily, if you're out of the headlines for a while, one would just be doing other things, perhaps working on recording another record if you're a pop star, maybe writing a book if you're a famous author, or maybe just spending time with your family and enjoying a hard-earned rest from whatever activities you've been engaging in, and enjoying the ability to spend time with your family. There is, of course, considerable speculation as to what Harry's wife is actually doing at the moment, because she's not making any appearances. There are no new revelations with regard to her ambitions as to whether she's going to be a TV show host, whether she's actually working on some content for Netflix and Spotify, or whether, as some people suspect, that she's recovering from some form of plastic surgery procedure. All speculation, of course. No hard evidence exists to support that. This means, of course, that there are two issues that arise. First of all, the media as a whole that likes to repeatedly comment on her comings and goings, her observations and behaviours, doesn't have too much material to deal with, because she's lying low. Of course, Prince Harry has taken the British government to court with regard to the issue of his security, and that's providing some commentary. But with regard to her own activities, she is unusually quiet. This means, therefore, that the press and media are having to look at previous matters, digging them up in order to comment. It also means, of course, that Harry's wife has to engage in a similar behaviour herself, of bringing up the past in order to control now. Rather than just remaining off the radar and remaining quiet, and indeed actually perhaps giving everybody a rest from her near ubiquitous face, she continues to need to assert control through PR puff pieces, and in recent parts passim, I have explained that that continues to be the case. First of all, however, this article clearly isn't something that has been generated by Harry's wife, but is the media reverting to something that occurred in the past to at least have some comment about her. A short article by Louis Allwood appears in the Super Soaraway Sun, and this was released this very day, stating, "Many couples have sweet nicknames for one another, and Harry's wife and Prince Harry are no different. Last year, Harry's wife, 40, let her pet name for Harry, 37, slip out during a TV appearance, leading to the royal being mocked mercilessly by one of his celebrity friends. The moment occurred during Harry's appearance on the Late Late Show with James Corden, arsehole, when the pals took a tour bus around Los Angeles. Harry's wife also featured in the popular episode, with James ringing her on a video call. When the mum of two spotted Harry in the background, she asked, 'How is your tour of LA going?' Harry jokingly branded Corden, arsehole, the worst tour guide in Los Angeles. The Brit TV host then teased the royal over the moniker, saying, 'Haz, oh Haz, I didn't know we were calling you Haz now.' That mind-numbing snippet of banality has been regurgitated in order to ensure that there is something to write about. It's worth mentioning, of course, that Harry's wife hasn't just called him Haz, she's referred to him as H, and if memory serves, she did so when they were in Africa, making reference to him as being H, and I explained in parts passim the objectification that occurs with this way. By giving him a nickname and using it publicly, and reducing him to ridicule from other people, not least the complete waste of space that is James arsehole Corden, this demonstrates a lack of emotional empathy for him, the objectification, where he is reduced to a pet name. This shows a sense of entitlement to treat him as that object, and belies her unconscious view of him. Consciously, she doesn't know what she is, and she doesn't see him as an object consciously, but unconsciously she does, because she treats him as if he were a washing machine or a television set, which is something that we, as narcissists, always do. By giving you a pet name, we reduce you to the status of an object, denoting ownership, that you belong to us, that you are our possession, that we are allowed to treat as we see fit. And Harry's wife is no different in that regard. To help you understand more about her mindset and this demeaning and devaluing behaviour, I'm going to present you with my video Pet, which provides you with further information about this phenomenon. Understand that her behaviour is devaluing. She's objectifying him, but she doesn't actually realise this is what she's doing because her narcissism will not allow her to do so. She doesn't think that by reducing him to the status of a single letter, H, or by calling him has in a way that invites mockery, she doesn't think that she's doing anything wrong. She thinks that it's merely a term of affection, that she's doing something which is fun. Of course, it actually belies the objectification through which she sees him. The forthcoming explanation contained in the video Pet will help you understand more of this phenomenon, where the narcissist gives you some kind of pet name. You might have thought that this was born out of affection. You might have thought this was a bit of fun. There's a much more sinister reason behind it. Where you were given that pet name, understand you were being labelled in a way which denoted ownership, possession, and objectification, as my video will now explain for you. Pet. Objectification. Sexpot. Angel. Babe. Honey. Princess. Baby girl. Penguin. Corky. Glowworm. From the obvious and well used, to the corruptions and bastardization of your first name, through to the downright bizarre, pet names are a standard feature of relationships. Parents may have a nickname or pet name for their child. We use nicknames for our friends. But, most often, they are used in the context of an intimate relationship. Their use is to denote endearment and to highlight something special and unique. Although using babe is hardly going to win any awards for originality, is it? And it does this between that person and their significant other. When used in the context of a non-narcissistic relationship, they are relatively harmless, perhaps hinting at something which teases and might be mildly embarrassing. For example, calling somebody glowworm because they go red and become embarrassed easily. But generally, they are used as a fond and kind epitaph. The situation, however, becomes corrupted and is used entirely different in our hands. We use pet names for our primary sources, but our motives for doing so are not about being genuinely endearing, but for a host of more nefarious reasons. Although all narcissists are likely to use pet names, they're more prevalent among lesser and lower mid-range. Furthermore, these pet names are used more extensively for the primary source, but they will also be used for secondary sources, both intimate and non-intimate. The utilization of these pet names is for the following reasons. 1. It is done to appear endearing to you, so that you think that you are actually special to us, that you merit being given a pet name. Therefore, you are led to think that we naturally care and love you, since we have taken this little special step. And this is done because it is a standard step in many intimate relationships, and all we are actually doing is mimicking what we have seen for the purposes of controlling you, by making you think that the relationship between you and us is wonderful, special, and marvelous. Number 2, possession. The narcissistic mindset is such that you are our possession. By giving you a label in this manner, we are branding you and stamping on you that you belong to us. It enables us to exert control over you. Indeed, this branding is often done in the context of getting you to have a tattoo of our name on you, or the pet name that we have given you to be placed on you. And, in certain instances, is taken so far as to actually have names or initials branded upon an individual. See, for example, Keith Ranieri's cult. 3. Objectification. We dehumanize you because we actually see you as objects. Lesser and mid-range narcissists do this in their unconscious. Greater and ultra recognize that we just see you as possessions that have been objectified, that we utilize for our purposes. Giving you a pet name reinforces the objectification that you are subjected to. We may well call you Angel, but from our perspective, you're just an angel, one of hundreds, no thousands that are out there. In the way that those who find themselves in a perilous situation might use their name with an aggressor or kidnapper in order to humanize themselves, to protect themselves, to try and create a connection with their kidnapper. We utilize pet names to dehumanize you. It is our position that you are an object to us, and therefore, as part of this dehumanization and objectification, you become easier to control and therefore abuse. 4. We use the same pet names for many of our appliances. There will, of course, be differences when, for example, the pet name is a play on your actual name. So, if you're called Rebecca, we might call you Becky Pops. But if it is a pet name which has nothing to do with your actual name, and is nothing to do with an actual distinct attribute of yours, then you should be aware that the name that you have been given is neither unique, novel, or special. Plenty of other people before you will have been called by the same name. Understand also that your replacements will receive this pet name as well. 5. By using a pet name and keeping the same for all of our relevant sources, both primary and secondary, we minimize the risk of calling you accidentally by the wrong name and bringing about questioning and a challenge to our control. Thus, if we call you Sugar Bumps and we are having an affair, the other person will also be called Sugar Bumps. If you are ever granted access to the narcissist's phone, do not be surprised to see Sugar Bumps 1 and Sugar Bumps 2 in the directory. 6. As with many things narcissist, what we grant we then take away in order to upset and assert control over you. Thus, if we always refer to you during a seduction as hot stuff, you can expect that come devaluation, we no longer call you hot stuff and call you by your actual name, or indeed, we might corrupt your pet name, calling you iceberg or cold stuff instead. This is devaluing behavior which is done to make you react and for the purposes of asserting control over you by being hurt as a consequence of this change in the supposedly affectionate pet name. 7. In some instances, the pet name may actually seem like a compliment to you, but instead it has a hidden meaning which is known to us, and whilst you smile when you hear this name being used, we are actually laughing at you on the inside because you don't realise you are being insulted. Others may well be in on this inside joke as well. So, for example, we might jokingly refer to you as the boss, and we say this in front of you in our coterie. And we would say, "Thanks for asking, I'll have to run it by the boss." You hear this and you smile at this apparently affectionate deference to your authority, oblivious to the fact that my coterie and I know that the name actually means best of 7 sluts, being a reference to how we regard you sexually and, of course, devaluing behaviour. 8. In some instances, we forget who you actually are because of the fact that we regard you as an object. But if we call all objects Munchkin, then we can fall back on that and refer to you by this name without appearing stupid for forgetting what you are called and inviting a threat by way of a challenge to our control. 9. We may invent new and different pet names, which are insulting, disrespectful and unpleasant when we embark on our devaluation of you. We may call you the Rash because you keep appearing everywhere when we do not want to see you. We may call you the Pirate because you have small breasts, i.e. a sunken chest. We may label you as the Thorn because you are a pain in our side. Or we may just go for it, as my regular listeners and readers will know from my treatment of Leslie. Number 10. We will also insist that you use a pet name for us, but then we choose it. Of course, nobody normal or empathic chooses their own nickname and then tells them to use it. This is evidence of our grandiosity and the need to assert control. Nicknames ordinarily evolve from characteristics witnessed by those around the recipient of the name. The fact that we appear and tell you to call us Golden Balls is evidence of our sense of entitlement, need to assert control, and grandiosity. The use of a pet name by our kind is never to be regarded as pleasant and complimentary. It is a device for control. It is a device for demeaning you and upsetting you. In the same way that one keeps a pet animal, that is how you are regarded, as we keep you in one of our gilded and then blackened cages.